action.
I love you.
I love you.
Is he talking to me?
What are you doing?
I ask but two things when we wed, loyalty and a male heir.
That's right, Ray. The little boy.
Take your hands off my lobby boy!
I am Hades.
What are you doing this with?
With the trust system. With the system.
Just keep still.
Interesting.
Cut.
Mr. Ralph Fiennes, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here in Cairo at the Cairo Opera House and in Egypt, of course. I know it's your second time,
Yes.
and I really hope that you're enjoying your stay and had a chance to do some sightseeing.
On this trip not, but before I came here in July and was lucky enough to be taken to, of course, the pyramids and the Egyptian Museum here, which I thought was fantastic, and then I went to Siwa and then to Alexandria and to the library.
Fantastic.
And I visited the other older pyramids a little further south, the stepped pyramid.
Right. Saqqara, we call it Saqqara.
Saqqara, yes. Saqqara.
And what strikes you the most in Egypt?
Well, you get many different impressions. Of course, you come to Egypt with your anticipation of ancient Egypt.
Right.
And the famous
Pharaohs, of
pharaohs
course.
and carvings. And then, of course, alongside that, we have the memory, of course, of 2011 when we saw so many big upheavals happening. And of course, I grew up, I'm afraid, with, of course, the history of British Army's presence fighting the Germans in
Exactly, in
northern Egypt.
Alamein.
So that's part of our history, I'm afraid, here. And
And in 1998, if I recall, you voiced Ramses in The Prince of Egypt.
I did, and also we recreated bits of Egypt and Cairo in The English Patient.
Right, exactly.
So we didn't shoot here, sadly.
You were supposed to.
We were supposed to. So I had curiosity about, say, the mid-20th century through my interest in the Second World War and, of course, English Patient.
They found him in the desert, a man with no name.
I think I was a pilot.
And no country.
Anybody remotely foreign is suddenly a spy.
A man they called the English Patient.
Why are you so determined to keep me alive?
Because I'm a nurse. Promise me you'll come back for me.
I promise. I'll come back for you.
And yes, Ramesses was part of my curiosity about ancient Egypt. But nothing, of course, and then there's what you don't know, which is when you're on the streets, you're in the cars, you're seeing the life of the city move around you, the lights, the buildings, the complicated differences of architecture, the atmosphere you see as you walk down the street and the shops, and the life of any, when you go to any new city, whether I was just in Tokyo, and of course you're hit by very different sensations.
Absolutely.
So it's what people wear, it's the language you hear around you, it's the voices, there's a whole tapestry of sensations that hit you. And as I said in the press conference just now, is a not unlike, actually more akin to the energy I might have felt when I visited some cities in India, is the sort of constant movement and activity of a city that's constantly moving. That's what I get. And of course you have a bit like Moscow,
Traffic dance.
But there's a sort of pulse in the air of life, which after London has a very particular kind of, it's very busy in the middle of the day, then after maybe 8 or 9 o'clock, quite quickly the city goes quite quiet.
Here the city never sleeps, actually.
Yes, that's what I thought. I can feel that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yes.
So this brings us back to the Cairo International Film Festival. When you first got the invitation to attend and to have your film, your latest film screened here, how did you receive this invitation?
Well, with joy. Because I think that film festivals are an opportunity for different filmmakers from different countries to share their experiences with other cultures. I think they're very important events they provide windows into other countries' experiences, ideas and ways of making films. And I think, you know, I mean, I do think we're living in very uncertain times, and that films and film festivals, especially away from the famous ones that are already established, I mean particularly Toronto, Cannes, Venice, they have their own cachet.
Berlin, yeah.
But I was excited to come to another festival that I'd never been to, in the context of another culture, Egyptian culture. So that felt exciting to me.
That's fantastic. If we go back to your film that was screened here yesterday night, The White Crow, there's always an aspect, a very humanitarian aspect in your films, whether as an actor or as a director. Do you always, concentrate on that? Is that always your objective? To have a very humanitarian side?
Yeah, I think it probably is. I mean, I think that this film, I was moved or inspired to make the film, motivated, you could say, because of this character of Nureyev, who's quite a difficult character, but he has an intense sense of his destiny. And not everyone maybe has this, but I do think as individuals, our life can contain the challenge of accepting and embracing who we essentially are, and not being ashamed or fearful to say this is who I am.
Right.
So Nureyev is a very extreme version of this because he's an artist and in a very particular context. But for me, it's the same with The Invisible Woman, the portrait of the young woman who was the secret lover of Dickens, but really her courage to be who she needed to be and how this relationship affected her. And I suppose if that's a humanitarian theme, then yes, that's interesting to me. And also I love working with actors, and I love exploring what are the many layers that are going on in any of us at any one time. And so working with someone like the Russian actress Chulpan Khamatova, who plays, actually, well, she's a great actress, but she comes with many, many wonderful fine calibrations of interior life.
Right.
She
played Xenia.
She played Xenia, yes.
Right, yeah.
But I should really talk about Oleg Ivienka, who plays Nureyev, because he is an untrained actor, he's a dancer. And I believe I spotted in him some real screen acting talent. And it was wonderful to work and try to nurture this. So to get him to, and as the filming went on, he really developed as an actor.
As a director, how do you do the casting? With the director's eyes or with an actor's eye?
It's a very good question. I think probably I'm looking. It's a very good question, because I would say I think a director's eye, because the director, I think you've got to see possibilities in someone, and when I audition, often I'm asking the actors to try different. I want to see how they will open, and I think that's probably a director's curiosity, is what can this person show me. Actors, I'm generalizing, but actors might go, I see the performance, I decide whether I like it. Do I like it? Does it film it, or do I? Perhaps it's not the sort of not for me. I think the directors But all directors are different. So my answer is, I suppose, I feel like I look at them. What are you? Who are you? What's inside you?
You can read them.
What am I? And also what is hidden that I might be able to bring out.
You as an actor, when did you decide, or when did it hit you? This is what I want to do with my life. This is what I want to be. Especially that you come from an artistic family. I mean, your mother is a novelist, your father is a photographer. You studied, went to art school. So, for me, as a fan of yours and as a viewer, it doesn't come as a surprise that you took acting as a career. But for you, how and when did you decide on that?
Well, I had acted at school, and I had enjoyed it, and people told me I had some ability. My mother actually once turned around to me after a school play and said, she wasn't given to flattery, my mum. She was quite tough. I mean, she was loving, but she wasn't, if she didn't, she would tell her the truth. But she said, I think you could be an actor, Ralph, if you wanted to be.
So that encouraged you?
No, actually that moment didn't then.
It did not?
And no, I sort of said, well, adolescent, I sort of, maybe, I don't know. I went and continued my studies in the art room. But then when I went to this art school in London to do a foundation course, which is a one-year course in which people who believe they will study the fine arts or photography or design, that they have one course where they can try
everything
and decide.
Okay.
So this is called a foundation course, and on that foundation course, which was designed to provoke you and to open up your head and your eyes and your experience, it was that course that somehow made me decide that actually I didn't want to be a painter, that I wanted to be an actor. And it came about because I was playing with versions of them. One of my art teachers said, try doing versions of this famous Las Menenias, this Velázquez painting.
Yes.
Which famously Picasso did versions of. And his teacher said, Ralph, have a go, do your version. So I ended up looking at these figures and cutting them out and making 3D.
Three-dimensional.
Yeah, and so they became like a little stage set. Because you have the dog and the two dwarfs, and you have the figure in the doorway at the back. And then that reminded me, when I was young, I had a little toy theatre with cut-out figures that I would move on and off, and I would do all their voices. And then I said, maybe I would like to design theatre sets. So I went to a theatre design course in London, and I saw all these wonderful sets the students were making. And I realised, actually, I didn't want to be designing the stage. I want to be on stage. The stage. It was like very clear, that's where I want to be.
And this is where your love for theatre comes in?
Yes, I wanted to be an actor because of theatre. The film acting seemed like a million miles away. Is something I just thought, I loved Shakespeare and I loved Shakespeare's language.
And your first directorial debut was Shakespeare's tragedy. Exactly. Yes, that must have been quite a challenge. Was it the most challenging, if you look back at your career and recall?
I think this last film was the most challenging to make, but at the time, it seems mad. And I think what Gabby and I tried to do on that film, but I had a very strong sense that this story was politically, actually it's always relevant. It's always about strong authority figures that are being questioned and issues of national pride, the voice of the people, the popular voice. There's an elite, in this case a sort of military elite, and so I think that always you can find parallels with any of the Roman plays of Shakespeare. Right. I think you'll always find a modern parallel.
I've found parallels in the roles that you play, actually, that there are roles that other people would rather shy away from and not take on, but you prefer to take this challenge all the time as an actor.
Yes, I suppose. I don't think of it like, I just feel there are roles that have, I think I like roles with contradictions in, that roles that challenge an audience. I suppose I resist cozy, cuddly parts, maybe. I don't know.
What was the most challenging role and the most challenging or the toughest scene that you've made?
Ever?
Ever, yes.
Wow.
The closest to your heart, and this is a very tough question for you, maybe the closest movie to your heart.
The closest movie to my heart. That's very hard because at each time you feel it. You know, I think this film, this film, The White Crow, is the closest film that's very close to my heart.
It's a beautiful film.
I think it is because it's sort of about what it is to want to be some kind of the word artist, but you know, you have something in you that you need to do. I suppose it's an artist, a performer, I don't know, but I feel there's some spirit in this story which I feel is very personal. I can't articulate what it is.
It's supposed to be released in the UK next year, in the spring of next year?
Yeah, March.
March.
And then April in the States, yeah.
We were very lucky to have the screening here in Egypt and in Cairo during
It's a great honor for me and for my producer, Gabby, to be here on this festival. I can't tell you, we're very happy and we're having a wonderful time.
Thank you so much for giving us this honor and pleasure. And maybe you can say a sentence in Arabic for our Egyptian audience?
Well, what did I say last night? مساء الفل is what I said.
مساء الخير والفل.
مساء الخير والفل. What's الخير mean?
Everything good.
Oh.
Yes.
مساء الخير الفل.
الخير والفل. It's been such a pleasure. We're running out of time, unfortunately. I must thank you for giving us the part of your precious time today to do this interview. We look forward to having you again very soon in Cairo and in Egypt. And
thank you.
This is your second home, as we say.
Well, maybe I'll buy an apartment.
Please do, yes.
Thank you.
And invite us for the opening.
I will.
Fantastic, we'll take you up on it.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.